Discover the untold story of samurais, 7 incredible life lessons from feudal Japan revealed. The attic was dank and dim, the air thick with dust and the memories of long-past times. Alex rummaged through boxes, driven by the need to find his jacket, but he found something far more captivating: a silence-bound leather book that seemed to pulse with the whispers of ancestors. Intrigued, he opened it, pages yellowed and delicate, revealing tales of honor, courage, and loyalty. Stories of samurais danced before his eyes, striking a stark contrast to his own life filled with uncertainty and lack of direction. Could the lessons of these warriors illuminate his hidden path? Meanwhile, Claire stood alone in the kitchen, a mug of cold coffee abandoned on the counter. She'd just returned from her morning shift, exhausted, yet readying herself for a brutal second round at the diner. The familiar ache in her back reminded her of the countless hours spent hustling at 2 jobs, but an even deeper discomfort lurked in her chest. With each day, the weight of economic hardship pressed down like a vice. She was tired of being overlooked, her potential obscured by workplace biases and endless skepticism. The missed promotions felt more like a personal affront than mere chance. They were a reminder of her struggle, a reminder that success seemed perpetually out of reach. As she prepared to leave the house, tossing her apron over her shoulder, a thought crashed against her mind: what if she stood up for herself at work? The fear bubbled within her. What if she confronted her boss and demanded the recognition she deserved? The idea brought a rush of adrenaline, but also an avalanche of doubt, reminding her of the countless times she had been dismissed. Her confidence wavered as panic clawed at her gut. Would she be laughed at, or worse, fired? Alex, still lost in the attic's dusty tales, flipped to a page revealing the rigorous training and unwavering spirit of a samurai. Something inside him ignited. He, too, was fighting a battle, an internal struggle against being dismissed by those who underestimated him. The whispers of duty and perseverance echoed in his mind, challenging his feelings of being trapped, of living in his mother's shadow as she bore the weight of the world on her shoulders. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Claire drove to work, doubt coiled tightly around her. Would she find the strength to speak up? A vision of the office, with its cold, unwelcoming walls mirrored her fears, threatening to pull her down. The pressure built. She was participating in a cycle that seemed unbreakable. Back in the attic, Alex reached the chapter detailing a samurai's code, reading about honor as a moral compass. Each lesson felt like a lifeline tossed into his sea of stewing uncertainty. He had to share this, but how could he inspire his mother to fight when she was consumed by her fear? Their lives were tethered together by hardship, yet within that same burden lay a path to courage he had never considered. With both facing the same storm of self-doubt, the moment approached when clarity would demand sacrifice, when honor would test the resolve held by mother and son. As Claire prepared to confront her boss, Alex held the weight of their legacy in his hands. Would the blood of ancient warriors guide their destinies? The air crackled as both faced their pivotal moments, aware that this was merely the beginning of their resolve, hanging in the balance of fate and family. The diner buzzed with the usual clatter of dishes and the low hum of voices mingling with the scent of greasy hash browns. Claire's heart pounded as she donned her apron, each knot in the fabric tightening her resolve. Today wasn't just another shift, today could change everything. The thought sparked something within her, intertwining with the urgency that had gripped her during the drive. She glanced at her reflection in the greasy surface of a nearby window. Would her reflection show the warrior she was attempting to become? The pounding of her heart echoed against her ribcage, a reminder that confronting her boss wasn't solely about the promotion, it was about her own dignity, her worth. The thought of her missed opportunities coiled around her, threatening to drag her down, but beneath that swirling doubt lay a flicker of determination, the decision to stand up. In the attic, Alex turned another page, the ink smudged yet the lessons clear: resilience, respect, and the unwavering quest for self-improvement. He felt those virtues calling to him, urging him to abandon his role as a passive observer of life. He had stumbled upon the very essence of samurai philosophy: embrace hardship and rise in the face of challenges. At that moment, clarity dawned upon him: he couldn't just read about honoring one's spirit. He must act, not just for himself but for Claire too. The exhilaration of possibility surged through him. How could he channel this newfound strength to uplift his mother? He envisioned sharing the stories of those great warriors and how they faced obstacles with a steadfast heart. What if he applied their lessons to their lives? For the first time, he felt the weight of their shared journey shift from a burden to a shared purpose. Claire's nerves pulsated through her as she approached the office door. It stood there, an imposing barrier that represented everything she'd held in for years. But behind it lay a chance at liberation. As she steadied her breath, the words she'd rehearsed, "I deserve recognition," felt stronger, almost like an incantation. Across town, Alex penned his thoughts, immersing himself in the lessons from the burgeoning samurai legacy. He pictured each stroke of his pen as a step toward empowering Claire. These stories could illuminate her path, they could underscore her worth when doubt filled her heart. What if he framed them as a testament to her resilience, drawing parallels between her life and that of those legendary warriors? Time seemed to stretch for both of them, moments hanging like delicate glass ornaments before shattering upon the ground of reality, forcing them to confront their destinies. Claire felt the weight of the moment as she knocked on her boss's door. The hollow sound resonated in her mind, mimicking the echo of her ambition. With every beat of her heart, she reminded herself of the courage displayed by the samurai. Just as they fought for honor, so would she fight for her right to be seen and recognized. Outside, Alex began crafting a letter, words flowing behind his quill as he detailed the bonds of honor and courage, his mother's weapon against her inner fears. Yet above all the storms of doubt, a flicker of hope ignited. Would Claire find courage or retreat into doubt? And could Alex's written pledge of respect turn into a catalyst for his mother's transformation? The moment hung between them like an untethered kite in a storm, trembling with uncertainty but filled with potential. As Claire turned the doorknob, an unexpected shadow loomed behind her, a figure who would challenge her resolve in ways she hadn't anticipated. Meanwhile, Alex sensed a deepening urgency in his task. The ink dried, but the ink was not merely words, it was a pact, a call to action that could spur their destinies into unforeseen paths. Would they both claim their narratives, or would the flurry of life extinguish this flicker of courage? The air thickened with possibility, and both stood at the ready, poised to redefine their futures. Would they grasp the samurai's spirit and fight for their place, or would they let fear dictate their actions? The door creaked open, and Claire found herself face to face with a figure draped in an overcoat, a man she barely recognized as one of the higher-ups. His presence caught her off guard, the boldness she'd summoned faltering momentarily. She forced a smile, a mask concealing the tempest within. Her heart raced, a wild drumbeat against her chest, drawing her thoughts back to her purpose. "Excuse me, Miss Claire," he said, his voice cool and decisive. "I'm here to inquire about your performance. The feedback hasn't been what we hoped for." The words hung in the air, heavy and dense. Each syllable lashed against her, echoing her deepest insecurities. She swallowed hard. This was not the confrontation she anticipated. "I believe I've done well," she countered, surprising herself with the firmness in her tone. "But I would like to discuss my future here." Confidence was a fragile thing, but each passing second late in falling into the quagmire of self-doubt nudged it to the forefront. The man raised an eyebrow, interest piqued. "Your future? You know, not everyone here is cut out for leadership roles." The insinuation cut sharply. Claire inhaled deeply, gathering what remained of her courage, fighting the instinct to yield to the barrage of fear. "With all due respect, I believe I have the potential," she said. "And I deserve the chance to prove it. I've been learning, growing, and the journey I've taken has equipped me for more." Skepticism flickered across his expression. And how do you plan to do that? In that moment, the lessons of resilience and determination echoed in Claire's mind, the vision of a samurai rising from the ashes coursing through her thoughts. By taking on more responsibility, by showing leadership and being more than just another waitress, she offered, each word a step closer to reclaiming her narrative. While they dialogued, Alex hunched over his desk, the ink of his quill gliding gracefully across the page. Frustration wormed into his mind. He had practiced his own words in front of the mirror, his beliefs echoing like mantras. But this his mother's challenge, her opportunity, was now a tangible beast looming just beyond reach. He needed to remind her that she was worthy of fighting for herself and teaching her the essence of persistence. Would the letters be enough, he wondered, would they embolden her spirit or just float aimlessly? Suddenly, a whisper of insight mounted within him. His pen paused. What if he introduced a more personal touch to her journey, weaving in his own experiences as a bridge? He quickly scribbled an anecdote from his own life, a moment where he felt powerless yet fought through it to embrace his talents, reminding him that inner demons could be conquered. Back at the diner, Claire braced herself, her resolve swelling as doubt tried to tug her back down. I can show you I can lead, not just serve. I have ideas for the diner that can increase our customer base. Each point she made transformed her conviction into a palpable energy, pushing her beyond the fear that had held her hostage for too long. Really? The man replied, skepticism entwining his tone. This isn't just about cooking better hash browns, Claire. Success requires more than gathering thoughts, it demands execution. With his words weighing heavily on her, Claire squared her shoulders, determination revitalizing her spirit. This was more than just an opportunity, it was a declaration. You're right. Let me demonstrate that I can drive change. I'll create a proposal outlining how I intend to take our team forward. Give me that chance. He studied her, deliberation dancing in his eyes. Did he see a glimmer of the warrior beneath the surface? Would he recognize the spark ignited not just by aspiration but deeply rooted resilience? The brewing storm of her ambitions collided with the trepidation of potential rejection. She needed to hold his gaze, to imprint her declaration firmly into the air between them, an assertion of her worth as undeniable as the chime of the diner bell. Meanwhile, Alex sealed his letter and tucked it into an envelope. His heart raced with the fear that his words might not make the impact he desired. Yet, within him rose a daunting realization: courage could only shine if amplified by action. The words he sent would chase down his mother's self-doubt, but ultimately, it would be her actions that would forge her path forward. With a united sense of purpose coursing through them, Claire and Alex stood on the precipice of their destinies, hoping to emerge stronger against the currents of inadequacy they faced. Would this pivotal moment alter their trajectories or lead them to linger in the shadows of doubt? The uncertainty loomed, it was thick enough to slice through. The real challenge lay ahead, and for both of them, the time for inaction had long passed. Claire left the meeting with a pulse thrumming in her ears. The words of the higher-up echoed in her mind, an unrelenting reminder of the scrutiny she would now face. The enthusiasm that had washed over her during the confrontation slowly morphed into a sharp worry. What if she miscalculated this slapdash proposal? What if her dreams of leadership were just a distant mirage, forever out of reach? As she returned to the diner, the familiar scent of fried food and burnt coffee enveloped her, contrasting harshly with the ambition simmering within. She needed to tunnel down into practicality to craft a proposal. She first had to define her vision. What changes could enhance the diner's atmosphere? What strategies would speak to both the customers and the staff, inspiring them to shift from routine to enthusiasm? She grabbed a notepad and a pencil, allowing the ideas to spill forth unfiltered. Menu revamps, she thought, scribbling furiously. Introduce themed nights. Collaborate with local artists for music events. Each stroke of the pencil sharpened her focus, converting vague notions into actionable ideas. Templates for innovation began to form in her mind, and with each mark on the page, her confidence resurfaced. But amidst her flurry of thought, another voice crept in the echo of her past failures. The times she had tried to suggest changes that fell flat, the moments when her boldness had been met with dismissal. Those memories clawed at her subconscious, whispering insistent doubts about her capability. "Focus," she muttered under her breath, shaking off the tendrils of negativity. "This is different. You are different." She pulled back her shoulders and took a deep breath, centering herself in the present. Suddenly, she remembered a conversation with a longtime server at the diner, Anna, who had once told her, "If you want to be recognized, then you need to stand out. Blend your ideas with action." Inspired, Claire grabbed her phone and dialed Anna. The line connected with a reassuring ring. "Hey Claire, what's up?" Anna's warm voice filled her with nostalgia and a sense of grounding. "I'm working on something big," Claire confessed, her voice steady. "I want to create a proposal to lead the diner's next phase of growth. Can you brainstorm with me?" "Absolutely. Let us make your voice heard," Anna replied, enthusiasm sparkling through the phone. As they brainstormed ideas, Claire felt a complex web of emotions, excitement blended with the reality of stepping into uncharted territory. Each suggestion from Anna coaxed clarity and renewed optimism within her. They mapped out plans for events, a redesigned menu with a focus on local ingredients, and employee incentives that could elevate team morale. That evening, Claire pored over her notes, her fingers smudged with graphite, energy surging as concepts crystallized. This was her chance to turn potential into accomplishment. Each detail molded from abstract thought into tangible proposals felt like laying the foundation of a new empire, one built on resilience and creativity. Yet, beneath the excitement, a thread of anxiety lingered. Would the higher-up respond positively? What if he laughed at her ideas? Just then, her phone buzzed with a notification. Searching for distraction, she swiped to see a message from Alex. "How'd it go? I've been thinking about you and your strength." Instantly, her heart warmed at his unwavering support. Claire paused to reply, her fingers tapping against the glass screen. "I'm working on a proposal. Meeting him again soon. I can't shake the doubt, though." His response was quick, "You'll overcome it. Remember, a samurai builds themselves with every challenge. You've got this." His words sparked a fire within her, resonating with her journey and her newfound determination. She returned to her notes with renewed vigor, scrapping doubt aside. What if, in tackling her challenges openly, she discovered not just the leader within, but something even greater? The night wore on, filled with potential and strategy, yet the weight of her impending presentation loomed heavy like clouds before a storm. A sense of urgency began to build, the time for contemplation was fading into necessity. She would not slip back into silence, nor retreat into shadows. The moment for execution was drawing near, and she felt the tide shifting beneath her. What if failure was merely rebirth in disguise? With the dawn of a new day on the horizon, Claire prepared to make her stand. Would she seize this moment or take a step back, letting fear dictate her path once again? The answer awaited just beyond the door. Claire awoke the next morning, sunlight filtering through the kitchen window, bathing her in soft golden hues. There was no mistaking the weight of the day. The proposal meeting loomed like a specter over her breakfast routine. She poured herself a cup of coffee, letting the steam rise, framing her thoughts like the fog lifting from the surrounding hills. Sipping cautiously, she reflected on the transformations unfurling in her mind. Stepping into leadership also meant checking the pulse of others in the diner. The thought spun threads of strategy and introspection, revealing how crucial her relationships with the staff were to the proposal's success. What could she do to nurture that connection? Taking a deep breath, she scribbled questions in the margins of her notepad. What do they want? What do they need to feel valued? The muscles of her mind flexed, surging with new ideas. A series of casual staff meetings could foster an open dialogue, perhaps themed brainstorming sessions could spark enthusiasm. The deeper she dove, the clearer her responsibility became. Get them on board, she murmured, a mantra gently rocking her anxiety. Yet the shadows of doubt twisted at the edges of her resolve. In her heart, she still feared alienating those who had always viewed her as just the girl from the diner. If she induced change without their buy-in, would they turn against her? Would they doubt her intention? Pushing the fear aside, she noted the potential power of a united front. If she could rally them, infuse their perspectives into her proposal, she might present a solution grounded in collective vision rather than solitary ambition. This realization reframed her approach. She wasn't merely presenting a proposal, she was offering them an opportunity to shape their environment. Later at the diner, Claire entered with renewed energy, her steps buoyed by clarity. The morning shift buzzed with the normal clatter of dishes and the hum of patrons, but today, her mind transformed that familiar chaos into a canvas of possibility. As she approached Anna, she saw the warmth in her eyes, a sisterhood built over years in the exacting world of dinner service. "Hey, Anna," Claire began, her voice steady. "I'd love your perspective on some ideas I'm putting together for this proposal." "Sounds great. I'm all ears," Anna replied, wiping her hands on her apron, her curiosity piqued. They gathered a few of the other staff members over coffee during the slow hours, Claire sharing her initial ideas about events and menu changes, gauging reactions and suggestions. To her surprise, rather than the skepticism she half expected, enthusiasm buzzed and flowed. Each comment, each shared vision ignited more, turning her proposal into a tapestry of collaboration. What once seemed like a solitary vision transformed into a shared ambition. As ideas crystallized, Claire felt the familiar flicker of fear rise. But, she hesitated. What if the higher-up doesn't see this as innovation? What if he dismisses it? Then we go back, rework it. That's a part of this, too, Anna encouraged, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We have each other's backs. The power of belonging surged through Claire, and just then, it struck her the shared energy was resilience, a dynamic contrast to her earlier isolation. It didn't hinge solely on her acceptance or rejection, it revolved around their collective voice. Time passed swiftly as laughter laced creativity, plans solidifying without her even trying to steer the conversation. Claire soaked in the exchanges, feeling less burdened by the sensation of leading an uphill battle. When closing time loomed and the staff released waves of thanks and shared excitement about the ideas, Claire's heart swelled. She could feel the shift as collaborators, not just followers, emerged from the shadows of her leadership aspirations. There was still work to do, tightening up her proposal with feedback was crucial, yet she now possessed an arsenal of energy and support. With her notes buzzing with the vigor of new ideas, Claire couldn't shake the intuition that she was forging a path not only toward her vision but toward a deeper truth within herself, the understanding that her voice and theirs could blend into something far more powerful. As she packed up at the end of the day, the anticipation crested once more, riding the undercurrents of this new perspective. What awaited her presentation was unknown, yet she now carried an unshakable gift of unity. But as she stepped outside, facing the dusky horizon, a flurry of uncharted thoughts spiraled in her mind. Would her voice still carry once she stepped into that meeting room alone? The answer awaited her mere hours ahead. The morning air bristled as Claire prepared for the meeting, anxiety coiling in her stomach like a tension spring. She hadn't planned for the uneasiness that began to creep back in as the hour approached. The bold camaraderie she felt with her co-workers clashed with a forcing silence inside her. The room felt blank, a contrast to the vibrant discussions from the previous night. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her blazer, a layer meant to shield her vulnerability. Staring at her reflection in the diner's backroom mirror, she caught glimpses of her own resolve but also of her insecurities, battling fiercely. "Just breathe," she whispered, pinching the fabric of her trousers. In this moment, she realized she needed to do more than just talk about collaboration, she had to embody its essence. Intent mattered, but execution could also make or break her vision. She arrived at the meeting room, it stood stark and institutional, the kind of space where dreams went to be scrutinized. The walls loomed like a stark reminder of her intentions, barriers that had to be navigated. When the upper management filtered in, Claire's heart raced. Their demeanor was a blend of curiosity and unease, as if they peered through the window into the diner but had never truly stepped inside. This was her moment, a sort of trial by fire where she could either emerge brightly or bend under the weight of their stares. "Good morning," Claire began, her voice wavering yet determined as she initiated her pitch. The notes in front of her seemed hollow as she spoke, framed with carefully constructed arguments about community-driven initiatives. She revealed the passion derived from her team's brainstorming sessions, the staff's insights were now woven into her proposal, the heart behind her endeavor. As she spoke, she noticed the executives' brows furrowed, their skepticism apparent. One of them, Mr. Henderson, a notoriously gruff figure, leaned forward with a pointed question. "And why exactly do you believe this will resonate with patrons? Aren't diners looking for comfort over creativity?" His words sliced through her like a steel blade, unexpected and blunt. An instinctive reaction surged within her, a mixture of indignation and fear, but, before she yielded to defense or withdrawal, another response ignited. "Because they want to be seen," Claire countered, using her deep understanding of the diner's heartbeat. "Our customers are not just visitors, they are part of the fabric we create daily. If we offer them tailored experiences that reflect their voices, we're not just serving food, we're serving an invitation to belong." She felt the shift in momentum, watched as the tension in the room crackled with new interest. The eyes that had previously clouded over began to light up with questions rather than dismissal. Yet, as they engaged with her, Claire remained acutely aware of her own inner battle. Could she convince them enough to see her worth? The back and forth felt electric, the discussion expanding into realms Claire had only hoped to address. Each exchange grew increasingly engaging, revealing not only the merit of her ideas but also her capability to lead a conversation, command their attention. But doubts lingered. Despite the dialogue's intensity, a nagging thought clawed at Claire's confidence: what if a well-articulated discussion fell short? As the meeting wrapped up and the nods of acknowledgement spoke of partial acceptance, Claire recognized a looming challenge: maintaining the momentum she had built. She wanted not just the proposal to pass but to instigate genuine change that resonated long beyond the meeting room. As the bosses filed out, a familiar shadow lurked at the door: the head of upper management, notorious for derailments before they even took off. Claire's breath caught. The moment was fragile, and the resilience she had woven might be tested by his approach. "Do you really think you can change the way this diner operates?" he quipped, a slight smile curved on his lips, but the sharpness of his words held an edge. "Yes, Claire," replied, the finality of her tone cut through the wavering constraints that gripped her. "Because change begins with a voice believing in its worth, and I have that now." What followed felt inevitable: the confrontation that would push Claire deeper into her personal and professional development. But how much of her resolve would withstand the onslaught, and would she emerge stronger or fracture under scrutiny? The air in the hallway felt charged as Claire stood before the head of upper management, Mr. Rourke. His expression was a blend of skepticism and intrigue, and for a heartbeat, Claire felt her words hover in limbo. This was her moment of truth, a clash that could either cement her standing or expose her fragility. "Do you really think you can change the way this diner operates?" he repeated, his tone laced with a challenge. Claire recognized the undertone of doubt, the request for evidence that would justify her vision. It struck her that beneath his veneer of authority, he was perhaps just as wary of change as she had been moments ago. "Absolutely," she replied, her voice steadier than the quaking inside her. The reality of her ambition was too vivid to shrink back now. "Our patrons have expressed their desire for more than just their usual meals, they seek connection, authenticity. That's what I'm offering, a dining experience that engages them fully." Mr. Rourke tilted his head, studying her, and for a fleeting second, she wondered if he might see it a spark of potential that could drive the diner to new heights. But as hesitance already filled the space between them, she struggled to maintain her composure. "Vision is one thing, Claire," he countered, crossing his arms as if to hold his ground. "Execution is another. What if our loyal customers reject this shift? What's your plan then?" She sensed the implications of his words, an apparent warning against diverging too far from their established roots. Her heart raced in response. The familiar corners of anxiety threatened to pull her back. It would be easy to divert from her earnest commitment and instead play it safe. Yet, here she was, standing against the currents pushing her towards mediocrity. "I'm aware of the risks," she replied, aligning her conviction with her stance. "But without the willingness to adapt, we miss opportunities. Every successful moment in this diner is built on understanding who we are and who we can be. If we push ourselves creatively, we redefine the diner culture." As she spoke her truth, a realization dawned. The essence of leadership wasn't just articulating a vision, it was embracing the potential for risk, for failure, and transforming it into learning. If she faltered here, would it set the precedent for how she managed this vision? Or would it just fortify her resolve? Mr. Rourke regarded her with a mixture of challenge and respect. "All right, then. Show me the details of how you plan to inspire that change. You're not alone in this, but remember, the moment you deviate and the customers walk out. Then that's the moment I'll reflect and adapt," she interjected, a fierceness igniting within her. "But my goal isn't to alienate. It's to invite them into something greater." As she walked away from that encounter, Claire felt a subtle shift within her, the spark of something ignited, which urged her to embrace both the passion and the potential peril inherent in her aims. This was more than just about convincing Mr. Rourke, it was about staking her claim in a world that valued courage over complacency. Back in her office, she sat with a blank sheet of paper, contemplating her next steps. The reality was clear, she needed a detailed plan, but not just any layout, one that reflected both her innovative spirit and the grounded essence of the diner. Drawing a line between creativity and feasibility became pivotal. What if she turned the focus towards her team and their unique capabilities? Infusing their voices into her strategy could serve as both a source of empowerment and a way to validate her vision. They could collectively brainstorm customer-centered ideas that felt less like change and more like evolution, a natural progression in their diner-esque narrative. As the evening descended, Claire felt a renewed drive thrumming through her. Taking out her phone, she sent out a call for an impromptu team meeting. This was her chance to mold a strategy that held every voice. But just as she hit send, the uncertainty returned. What if this new approach failed? Spectacularly. The service industry was notoriously capricious. Claire had learned that maneuvering through doubt and fear wasn't about avoiding it but dancing with it to lead through vulnerability. Was she prepared? Emotions collided within her like clashing waves, but resolute clarity began to emerge. She would lean into the unknown, harnessing every ounce of resilience forged in her struggle. The path that lay ahead was uncertain, but now felt more attainable. Could she pull her team together to ignite a shift that would change the diner's identity forever? And what if the ensuing tumult raised questions she wasn't ready to answer? As those thoughts began to spin into a cohesive notion of determination, one burning question remained on her mind, and it ignited a fresh wave of anticipation. Could she really orchestrate the very change she so deeply desired, or would she crumble under the weight of expectation? Claire gathered her team around the conference table, her heart beating fast with a mix of excitement and apprehension. She introduced the impromptu meeting with a bright smile, attempting to conceal her inner turmoil. Each team member's face was a canvas of curiosity and skepticism. They had grown accustomed to the diner's traditional ways. Would they embrace a shift towards something uncharted? "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she said, her voice steady yet softening as she noticed the collective anxieties reflected in their eyes. "I called you here because I believe we have an opportunity to evolve, to not just serve meals, but also create memorable experiences for our guests." A hush fell over the room, making her acutely aware of the weight of her words. The team exchanged glances, unspoken questions hanging in the air. Her pulse quickened as the silence stretched. "Before we dive in," Claire continued, "I want to hear what you think. What do our customers want, and how can we deliver experiences that resonate deeply?" One of her line cooks, Jenna, broke the silence. "What are you thinking, Claire?" If we change too much, what if our regulars don't like it? They come here for comfort, not for surprises. Jenna's concern echoed the doubts Claire had faced in her meeting with Mr. Rourke. Seeing the worry on her cook's face illuminated a crucial point: the team needed to feel a sense of ownership, a connection to whatever direction they were heading. She took a deep breath. What if we consider evolution rather than change? Slowly, Claire began to share her vision, blending her creative ideas with references to some hospitality industry successes that had embraced evolution without alienating their core customers. Flipping through the ideas in her mind, she outlined concepts centered around themed nights, interactive cooking demonstrations, and integrating local ingredients more prominently into their menu. To her surprise, the atmosphere began to shift. Steve, one of the servers, leaned forward, intrigued. Themed nights sound promising. We could feature dishes from different cultures or local traditions. People love when they feel a connection to the food they're eating. An unexpected thrill rushed through Claire as she felt the momentum build in the conversation. One by one, team members began contributing their insights. Ideas flowed, fleshing out her initial vision and giving it substance. Each suggestion collaborated seamlessly with others, igniting a sense of unity and shared ambition. Yet, amid this burgeoning enthusiasm, an unsettling whisper haunted Claire, a reminder of the volatile nature of their industry. If they stumbled in this newfound direction, blame could swiftly follow, and she bore the ultimate weight of responsibility. Would she become the very catalyst of their downfall? As the discussion progressed, she noticed their momentum edging toward tangible plans. They formed small groups to brainstorm further, focusing on creating customer engagement strategies that honored both tradition and innovation. Clarity emerged in the chaos, lifting Claire's spirit. But then, amid the excitement, the thought struck her: what if they hit resistance from Mr. Rourke when their proposal came time for presentation? His skepticism still loomed. Would he see the value in their collective vision? Were they truly prepared to defend the changes in a way that aligned with the diner's legacy? Let us work on a presentation that highlights not only our ideas but also features feedback from our patrons, Claire proposed when they gathered back for a final round. We want the numbers, the voices, and the stories to demonstrate how this evolution can happen. From the energetic brainstorming session to a structured plan, Claire felt a newfound commitment blooming within her team and herself. Together, they stood at the precipice of something transformative, but doubt still gnawed at the edges of her resolve. As they adjourned the meeting with a renewed sense of purpose, Claire realized this was only the beginning. The next hurdle awaited her, persuading a hesitant Mr. Rourke and preparing herself for the possibility of rejection or failure at his hands. But she would not flinch. The stakes had never felt higher. What would happen when she presented the ideas to upper management? Would her collective conviction be enough to sway them, or would they revert to a safe past? Fueled by an unwavering determination, Claire pondered the challenges ahead, contemplating not just ideas but the potential for her own growth in this pivotal moment. Would she rise to the demands of her evolving role, or would fear stifle her burgeoning leadership? The quiet hum of the diner felt different the following morning, an electric anticipation thick in the air. Claire arrived before the sun fully broke, her mind racing with thoughts about the meeting ahead. The old fluorescent lights flickered, a soft reminder of the countless days she had spent here, managing routines that had grown predictable. Yet now, those very routines were poised on the precipice of transformation. As she brewed coffee, Claire immersed herself in preparing the presentation. A large presentation board adorned with sketches, notes, and colorful post-its loomed in front of her, the chaotic visual echoing the burgeoning creative storm within her. Each color represented a different theme, a different experience, each a stepping stone toward her vision. Yet, in the stillness of the morning, doubt crept in. Was her vision robust enough? Would it resonate with Mr. Rourke? Jenna walked in, still rubbing sleep from her eyes. "You're here early." "Yes, just getting the last touches of our proposal ready," Claire replied, forcing a bright smile to mask her rising apprehension. Jenna leaned against the counter, her expression shifting from curiosity to concern. "Are you okay about presenting this?" I mean, what if he shoots it down? Claire bit her lip, the question swirling in her mind. I have to believe in our vision. We've put so much heart into this. I know, Jenna replied softly. But what if it still doesn't work? What if it all crumbles? Such questions echoed louder than she'd like to admit. Claire exhaled, steadying herself. Then we learn. Learning is growth. We have to take this leap, or we'll never know what could be. With that resolve fortified within her, Claire spent the rest of the morning refining each point of her presentation. She meticulously gathered data from customer surveys they had collected over the past few months, aligning the feedback with the themes they developed. Every statistic fortified a conceptual idea, weaving reassurance into the fabric of her proposal. As the diner began to fill, the rhythmic clattering of dishes and the warm chatter of patrons became a backdrop to her swirling thoughts. Each customer who walked through the door embodied a reason for their endeavor. They were not merely serving meals, they were offering narratives of culture, tradition, and newfound experiences. The hours slipped away, and soon it was time to meet Mr. Rourke in the office upstairs. Walking up those familiar stairs felt daunting, but Claire resolved to harness the anticipation into adrenaline. The door to the office loomed ahead, a threshold guarding the decision that would shape the rest of her journey. Claire, Jenna's voice carried over just as she reached for the handle. No matter what happens, you've already done something amazing by bringing everyone together. She nodded, appreciating the support. Yet the lump in her throat was hard to ignore. Would her collaborative spirit withstand the scrutiny of a more corporate perspective? With a resolute breath, Claire stepped into the office, ready to face Mr. Rourke. The man sat behind his large desk, his brow furrowed slightly as he glanced at the proposal already laid before him. Claire caught a glimpse of his expression, an impassive mask that suggested a brewing storm of doubt. Good morning, Mr. Rourke. Thank you for meeting with me, Claire began, grounding her stance firmly. As she launched into her presentation, confidence battled against the inner voice projecting possible scenarios of failure. Each statistic she shared highlighted responses from patrons who craved more than the diner's conventional identity. She could see Mr. Rourke's brows knit tighter. Let us consider this aspect, he interrupted, folding his arms. What makes you think our regular customers will embrace these changes? It seems risky. Claire felt her heart race, an electric pulse fueling her determination. It may feel risky, but it's a calculated evolution. We're showing respect to our roots while reaching for new growth. These ideas align with our customers' desires. She held her ground as he scrutinized her, his silence a daunting barrage against her growing belief. I understand the legacy here holds weight, but transformation doesn't erase the past. It enriches it, she continued, the urgency in her voice amplifying with each syllable. Yet, as she articulated her vision, Claire grappled with the realization this moment was not merely about the diner. It was a manifestation of her personal growth, her ability to combat internalized fears of inadequacy and to embrace her emerging role as a leader. But would it be enough? As the tension hung thick in the room, the completed proposal felt like a fragile artifact, a potential future at stake. Was she ready to handle the answers and ramifications that awaited her beyond Mr. Rourke's verdict? As he leaned back, contemplating her words, her pulse quickened, anticipating the next step that could lead to either triumph or despair. Claire stepped back from the brink, her heart racing as she awaited Mr. Rourke's response. This was not just a pivotal moment for her proposal, it was the culmination of her journey, where every ounce of growth and courage was put to the test. Finally, after a charged silence, he exhaled slowly, looking deeply into Claire's eyes. Your passion is evident, Claire. You've presented compelling reasons to adapt, and it seems the team is united behind you. However, execution remains the question mark. In that moment, clarity washed over Claire. This meeting was no longer just about approval, it reflected her own transformation into a leader who could influence a team and guide change. I understand that, but the excitement among our staff and patrons suggests we can implement this without losing our core values. I can lead initiatives to ensure a smooth transition, complete with regular feedback sessions to address any concerns, she responded, her voice steady and assured. Mr. Rourke's expression softened, the tension in his face easing just enough for Claire to sense the potential for a breakthrough. Prepare a trial proposal and let us see the results in action over the next few months. Adapt based on feedback, and we can reevaluate afterward. Thank you, Claire breathed, relief flooding her system. She was ready to cast aside her fears and step into this role with full confidence. This was no longer merely about winning a battle, it was about claiming her right to lead and innovate. With Mr. Rourke's offer, she could finally demonstrate her capability and prove the power of collective ambition. Leaving the office, Claire felt the weight of 1,000 burdens lifted. No longer mired in doubt, she emerged empowered, her past struggles transformed into learning opportunities that shaped her into the leader she aspired to be. In that triumphant moment, recognition poured over her in waves. She had embraced her fears, confronted and conquered them, entering the realm of self-assuredness. Meanwhile, Alex sat in the attic, finalizing his thoughts on how best to encourage Claire. Inspired by his mother's evolution, he penned a letter dedicated to her journey, highlighting the importance of resilience he had learned from the samurai principles. Each stroke of his pen blurred the lines of their struggles and successes, intertwining their paths to fulfillment. Later that evening, Claire announced her newfound direction to the diner team, their faces lighting up with excitement. The support she felt filled the diner with renewed energy, and they began envisioning the new changes, gathering feedback from customers and staff alike. The barriers of old perceptions crumbled as innovative ideas sprouted, each step forward a testament to their collective strength. The diner transformed into a hub of creativity, where themed nights flourished, infused with local flavors and unique experiences. Patrons raved about the revitalization that echoed their desires. Claire's courage flourished alongside her professional identity, proving to herself and others that fear could propel her into new heights. Hesitations faded, Claire had carved her own space in an industry often dominated by tradition. She no longer felt like just a waitress, she became a trailblazer who embodied the samurai's spirit of innovative courage. Returning home that night, she found Alex waiting in the living room, letter in hand. His face lit up with pride upon seeing her. "You did it, didn't you?" "I did, and it feels incredible," she replied, embracing him tightly. With gratitude overflowing, she realized this journey had not just blossomed within her, it had ignited a fire in Alex too. Together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, grounded in the lessons shared from generations past. Their conversation morphed into discussions of dreams, aspirations, and the acknowledgement that stepping beyond their fears could lead to growth. This was their moment to redefine their narratives, rooted in choices that reflected the strength of their shared history. With solid confidence and mutual respect marking their paths, Claire and Alex had not only achieved personal milestones but had also transformed the echoes of their struggles into achievements that resonated with the spirit of the samurai. They had conquered the inner battles alongside their familial ties, shaping a future where courage and purpose intertwined seamlessly. Now, it is your turn. You need to subscribe now to witness extraordinary stories of personal transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find these powerful narratives. Comment your reactions and theories about how Claire and Alex will continue to grow from this point. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and reinvigorate their journeys. Don't wait even one more second.